So imagine this. You've poured your heart and soul into building this online community, right? A place for
Mhm.
people to connect and share their stories. And then, boom, it's just gone, wiped out. Right before the biggest celebration of the year. That's what happened to Pink Media, one of the leading voices in LGBTQ marketing. They had over 250 accounts suspended on X, which, by the way, is over 1 million followers, just gone, vanished. And this happened right before Pride Month. Talk about a punch to the gut. Not just for Pink Media as a company, but for the entire LGBTQ community trying to make their voices heard online. We're going deep on this today, looking at 2 articles that really dig into this whole situation. One's from The Advocate, and it really focuses on what happened to Pink Media, like the whole story. And we've got another one from Fortune, which zooms out a bit and looks at this bigger trend of account suspensions on X since, well, Elon Musk took over.
Yeah, and what really strikes me about Pink Media's situation is the timing of it all. Suspending their accounts during Pride Month. I mean, that's a time when visibility and representation are so crucial for the LGBTQ community. And Pink Media, they were a huge part of that.
Totally. And it wasn't like they were just talking to themselves or anything. The Advocate article, it actually mentioned that some of Pink Media's Pride Month content was getting something crazy, like 17 million views.
Wow, 17 million.
Yeah, 17 million. That's a ton of people engaging with LGBTQ content, and then suddenly it's just gone poof.
It really makes you think, what happens to a community's voice when something like that happens, when their online presence is just like abruptly silenced, especially for communities like the LGBTQ community who've really used platforms like X to connect with each other and advocate for change.
Yeah. It's like someone just hit the mute button on a really important conversation.
Exactly. And the lack of any real explanation from X makes it even worse, The Advocate article, they mentioned that Pink Media, they didn't get a clear reason for the suspensions, which just adds to the whole mystery and distrust of the whole thing. I mean, are these suspensions because of actual violations, or is this like some form of censorship? Without clear guidelines and reasons, it's really hard to say.
And that uncertainty, it can really make people hesitant. Like if you don't know why something's happening, are you really going to risk posting something that might get you flagged? It creates this environment of fear and self-censorship, which is the opposite of what a thriving online community should be.
Absolutely. And this Pink Media situation, it might be a sign of something much bigger happening on X, but we'll get into that a bit later.
So we've got Pink Media, right? 250 accounts gone just like that. And you start to wonder, is this like a one-off thing? Or is there something bigger going on with X?
Well, that Fortune article we mentioned, it kind of suggests that Pink Media's story might be just the tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah, they had this one stat that really jumped out. Account suspensions on X, they've actually tripled since Elon Musk took the reins.
Tripled.
Seriously.
Tripled.
Wow, that's quite a leap.
It really is.
It's like going from, the occasional parking ticket to suddenly your car's getting towed every time you park. It just doesn't quite add up.
And it really makes you think about how content moderation is changing under Musk, I mean, remember when he first took over Twitter, or X as it is now, he was all about being a free speech absolutist.
Right, the whole digital town square idea where everyone can say what they want, no holds barred.
Exactly.
But then you see a threefold increase in suspensions, and it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't really line up with the whole free speech thing, does it?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because how do you balance true free speech with, responsible platform management?
Right, because on the one hand, you want people to be able to express themselves without feeling like they're walking on eggshells. But on the other hand, you don't want the platform to become a free-for-all of hate speech and misinformation and who knows what else.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot, that balance, which is way easier said than done, of course.
For sure. It's like trying to walk a tightrope, Too much moderation, and you risk stifling important conversations, shutting down diverse viewpoints. But too little, and you might end up with a platform that's just, well, kind of a mess and potentially harmful to people.
It's a tough one, and there's no easy answer, but cases like Pink Media's really highlight the need for more transparency from platforms like X. If Musk is serious about this whole free speech thing, then he needs to be clear about what flies and what doesn't on his platform and how those decisions are being made.
Right, because otherwise it's like playing by a set of rules that nobody knows, and that's not really fair to anyone.
Exactly, and that kind of uncertainty, it can actually end up having a chilling effect on free speech in itself, which is kind of ironic when you think about it.
It really makes you wonder, is this really about making the platform a safer space for everyone? Or is it more about controlling what we see and hear online?
It's a question worth asking, especially as more and more of our lives move online. Who gets to decide what we're exposed to in this digital world? And how can we make sure those decisions are made fairly and transparently?
So we've got this whole pink media situation, their accounts gone, and then this bigger trend of more and more accounts getting suspended on X. It's kind of overwhelming. And it's easy to think, well, that's their problem, right? I'm not a big company. I'm not worried about getting suspended. But it's bigger than just one company or platform, isn't it? It feels like there's a bigger question here that affects everyone online.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about power, really. Social media, it used to feel like this wide open space, Anyone could share their thoughts, reach a global audience. It was kind of exciting. But lately, it feels like that's changing, like things are tightening up. And makes you wonder, who's making those decisions? Who gets to decide what we see and hear?
It's like the difference between, I don't know, a bustling city square and a carefully curated art gallery. You know what I mean? In the city square, you've got all these different voices. Some you agree with, some you don't. It's messy, but it's alive. But a gallery, someone's decided what goes on the walls, what message they want to send.
That's a great analogy.
And both have their place. But it feels different when it's our access to information being curated, our ability to have a conversation.
For sure. And that's the heart of the issue, right? How do you balance protecting people from harmful stuff online while also making sure people can still speak their minds?
Because let's face it, the internet can be a scary place sometimes.
Absolutely. You've got hate speech, misinformation, harassment, all of it. And it's real. It affects people in the real world. But how do you deal with that without going too far? Without silencing important voices, especially from communities that are already vulnerable?
It's like, how do you weed out the bad stuff without accidentally ripping up the flowers?
Yeah.
You want a healthy garden, not just an empty field.
Exactly.
And it's not just an online thing either. It feels connected to what's happening offline, too. Like all these debates about banning books in schools, telling teachers what they can and can't talk about. It's all about controlling the narrative.
It's true. It's a trend, and we need to be paying attention because these decisions, whether it's online or offline, they affect all of us.
So where do we go from here? What can we even do? It feels like such a big issue.
It is big, but that doesn't mean we're powerless. We have to stay informed, for one, and be critical thinkers about what we see online, not just accepting everything at face value. And we have to support organizations that are fighting for digital rights, for a more equitable internet. There are people out there doing the work, and we can't be afraid to hold these platforms accountable, demand transparency, call them out when they get it wrong. The future of free speech, online and off, it depends on us speaking up.
It's a call to action, right? To be engaged, to be mindful, to use our voices. Because if we don't, who will? And I think that's something worth thinking about, don't you?